The ultimatum: the day the hegemony arrived above Earth, the sky turned purple. Not from their ships, though there were plenty of those, but from the energy field they projected to announce their presence. Every human on the planet looked up and saw the same thing: a violet aurora that covered the entire atmosphere like a dome. Commander Zix stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and looked down at the blue-green world below. He had conquered 17 species in his 300 years of service to the hegemony. Earth would be number 18. The humans had only been in space for 2 centuries. They still used chemical rockets for most of their transportation. Their fastest ships could barely reach 10% of light speed. This would be easy. Open communications, Zix commanded. His voice sounded like grinding metal, translated through the universal communicator for his crew of various species. Let us inform these primitives of their new future. The message went out to every device on Earth simultaneously. Every television, computer, phone, and radio played the same words in every human language. People of Earth, we are the hegemony. We control 400 star systems. We have watched your species for 50 years. You have potential, but you lack guidance. You will join us. Resistance is pointless. Send your leader to speak with us. Down on Earth, in a bunker 5 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Maria Rodriguez turned to President James Walker. They stood in a room filled with screens showing military installations around the world. But these were not the installations the aliens could see. These were the real ones, hidden beneath false cities and fake farmland. They actually said resistance is pointless, Rodriguez said with a small smile. How original. President Walker nodded. Send up Ambassador Chen. Let's see what they want. Meanwhile, activate Protocol 7. Around the world, things began to move. Not visibly, not obviously, but in hidden places. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment started warming up machines that the rest of humanity didn't even know existed. Earth had been preparing for this day since they first detected alien signals a century ago. The planet's entire surface was a carefully crafted lie, designed to look weak and primitive. Ambassador Sarah Chen rode a simple rocket to the alien flagship. She wore a plain blue suit and carried a briefcase with paper documents. Everything about her was calculated to look primitive and harmless. The hegemony expected to meet a frightened diplomat from a backward world. They would get exactly what they expected to see. The alien ship was massive, 20 miles long and covered in weapons. Chen's little shuttle looked like a fly landing on an elephant. She was escorted through corridors filled with conquered species, all wearing the gray uniforms of hegemony servants. They looked at her with pity. Another species about to be absorbed. Another culture about to be erased. Commander Zix waited in his throne room. He was 12 feet tall with skin like polished obsidian and 4 arms. His species, the Vornax, had founded the hegemony 5,000 years ago. They had never met a species they couldn't conquer. Ambassador Chen, Zix said, his translator making his voice sound almost friendly. Welcome. I trust our message was clear? Chen bowed slightly. Very clear, Commander. Though I'm curious about your terms. Terms? Zix laughed, a sound like breaking glass. There are no terms. You will dismantle your militaries. You will share all your technology. Your people will be assigned roles that benefit the hegemony. In return, we will protect you and guide your evolution. In 1,000 years, you might even earn partial citizenship. Chen opened her briefcase and pulled out a paper document. I have a counter-proposal. The room fell silent. The other hegemony officers looked at each other in confusion. No species had ever made a counter-proposal. They either surrendered immediately or fought briefly and then surrendered. A counter-proposal? Zix leaned forward, genuinely curious. Please share this amusing document. Chen read from the paper. The United Earth Government proposes a trade alliance. We offer unique biological and cultural resources in exchange for maintaining our sovereignty. We believe cooperation would benefit both parties more than conquest. The laughter started with Zix and spread through the room. Even the servant species allowed themselves small smiles. The humans actually thought they could negotiate. Ambassador, Zix said when he finally stopped laughing, let me explain something. We have destroyed civilizations that existed before your species learned to make fire. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. Your most powerful nuclear weapon is like a firecracker compared to our weakest ship gun. What could you possibly offer that we couldn't simply take? Chen put the document away. Choice, Commander. The choice to leave with your fleet intact. The laughter stopped. The room became cold. Zix stood up, all 12 feet of him radiating menace. Are you threatening us, little human? No, Chen said calmly. I'm giving you information. Earth has been preparing for this moment for 100 years. Every city you see below is fake. Every military base your scanners detect is a decoy. Our real civilization is hidden in ways you cannot imagine. If you attack us, you will learn why humanity's greatest skill has always been war. Zix moved faster than Chen could see. One of his 4 hands grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. Your species hasn't even left your star system. You have no colonies, no fleet, no allies. What could you possibly do to us? Chen smiled even as she struggled to breathe. We've been in space for 200 years, Commander. Do you really think we spent all that time just orbiting our own planet? Zix dropped her. Chen fell to her knees, gasping for air. When she looked up, her smile was gone, replaced by something harder. You have 48 hours to leave our system. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. 48 hours? Zix sat back on his throne. Very well. In 48 hours, we will turn your planet into glass. Every human will be dead or enslaved. And when we are done, I will personally ensure that your name is forgotten by history. Chen stood up, straightened her suit, and picked up her briefcase. 48 hours, Commander. Please use them wisely. She walked out of the throne room, escorted by confused guards. No one stopped her. They were all too shocked by what had just happened. A primitive species had just given the hegemony an ultimatum. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. Back in her shuttle, Chen activated a hidden communicator. This is Ambassador Chen. Negotiations have failed as expected. They've been given the warning. Authorization code, Prometheus Rising. Across Earth and in places the hegemony couldn't detect, humanity's real military began to wake up. Ships powered by technologies reverse-engineered from captured alien probes started their engines. Weapons based on principles that humanity had discovered but kept secret charged their capacitors. Soldiers trained in tactics no other species had ever imagined checked their equipment. The hegemony had made a crucial mistake. They assumed that because humanity looked primitive, they were primitive. They never considered that a species might choose to appear weak. They never imagined that humans had been broadcasting fake signals and building fake cities specifically to fool alien observers. Commander Zix called his fleet captains. Prepare for planetary bombardment. Full formation. I want every major city destroyed in the first wave. Commander, one captain said hesitantly, what if the humans actually have hidden defenses? Zix laughed again. Hidden defenses? They still use chemical rockets. Their space station is held together with aluminum and prayers. What could they possibly be hiding? He would find out in 47 hours and 30 minutes, and when he did, the entire galaxy would learn why humanity had survived every challenge in their history. They would learn why humans had conquered every environment on their planet. They would learn why human history was written in blood and victory. The countdown had begun. The hegemony thought they were teaching humanity about power. Instead, humanity was about to teach the galaxy about determination, deception, and the dangerous creativity of a species that had spent its entire existence preparing for war. The revelation, 48 hours, passed like seconds for some, like years for others. Commander Zix stood on his bridge watching the countdown reach 0. Around him, 200 hegemony warships formed perfect attack formations. Each ship bristled with weapons that had devastated worlds far more advanced than Earth appeared to be. All ships prepare for bombardment, Zix commanded. Target their major population centers first. London, New York, Tokyo, Moscow. Leave nothing standing. The weapons officer hesitated. Commander, we're detecting an energy buildup from the planet's surface. They're nuclear weapons, no doubt, Zix said dismissively. Our shields can handle their primitive atomics. Fire! 200 ships fired simultaneously. Beams of energy that could vaporize mountains streaked toward Earth. They hit the atmosphere and stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. The beams struck an invisible barrier and dispersed into harmless light. What? Zix leaned forward. Report. Some kind of planetary shield, Commander. But the energy readings are impossible. They're using quantum field manipulation at a scale we've never seen. Before Zix could respond, space around his fleet began to shimmer. Ships appeared from nowhere. Not just a few ships. Thousands of them. They materialized from folded space, each one sleek and angular, unlike anything in the hegemony database. Impossible, Zix breathed. Where did they come from? His answer came from an unexpected source. Every screen in his fleet lit up with the face of General Maria Rodriguez. She was standing in what looked like a massive command center filled with technology that should not exist on a primitive world. "Commander Zix," Rodriguez said calmly, "I'm afraid you've been operating under false assumptions. Humanity has not been confined to Earth for the past 2 centuries. We've been everywhere." The tactical display updated as hidden human installations throughout the solar system revealed themselves. Mars wasn't a dead colony. It was a massive military base hidden under holographic projections. The asteroid belt wasn't empty. It was full of weapons platforms. Jupiter's moons weren't uninhabited. They were home to shipyards that had been building vessels in secret for decades. "You lied," Zix said, his voice filled with disbelief. "No," Rodriguez replied. "We simply showed you what you expected to see. Your scouts saw primitive rockets because that's what we wanted them to see. Your spies reported weak defenses because we made sure they found fake ones. Every signal you intercepted, every communication you decoded, every piece of intelligence you gathered was carefully crafted theater." The human ships began to move. They didn't move like hegemony vessels, with their predictable formations and standard tactics. They moved like predators, each ship operating independently but somehow perfectly coordinated. They struck from angles the hegemony hadn't considered possible. The first hegemony cruiser to fall wasn't destroyed by weapons fire. The human ships created a resonance field around it that literally shook it apart at the molecular level. The second ship found itself suddenly inside out, the result of a localized space-time inversion that humanity had weaponized. "All ships return fire," Zix screamed. "Destroy them!" But the human ships were never where they appeared to be. They used light-bending technology to create false images of themselves. Hegemony weapons fired at phantoms while the real ships attacked from completely different directions. Then came the truly impossible part. Wormholes opened throughout the solar system, and more human ships poured through. Not from Earth, from other star systems. Humanity hadn't just been hiding on Earth. They had been secretly colonizing space for decades, building an empire in the shadows of the galaxy. "Commander," the science officer said, his voice shaking. "These readings, the humans aren't using any technology we recognize. It's not based on any scientific principles in our database." Rodriguez appeared on screen again. "That's because we developed our own science, Commander. While you were conquering species and taking their technology, we were creating new physics. We studied your ships from afar. We learned your weaknesses. And we built weapons specifically designed to exploit them." A hegemony battleship suddenly froze in place, its crew unable to move. The humans had figured out how to manipulate time itself, creating pockets where time moved differently. The battleship's crew would experience the next few seconds over several hours, helpless to respond as human ships dissected their vessel. "This is impossible," Zix roared. "You're primitives. You still use paper documents." "The paper was a prop," Chen's voice came through the communication system. She was aboard one of the human flagships. "Everything you saw was theater. We learned early that alien species always underestimate those who appear technologically inferior. So we became actors on a planetary stage. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 1 hour. In that time, the hegemony lost 50 ships without destroying a single human vessel. Their weapons couldn't lock onto targets that existed partially in another dimension. Their shields couldn't stop attacks that bypassed normal space entirely. Finally, Zix gave the order he had never given before. "All ships, retreat! Emergency jump!" But the jump drives wouldn't work. The humans had somehow locked down hyperspace in the entire solar system. The hegemony fleet was trapped. Rodriguez appeared on screen one more time. "Commander Zix, you now have 2 choices. You can surrender unconditionally, or we can demonstrate what our weapons do to organic matter. I should mention that we've been very restrained so far. We've disabled your ships without killing your crews. That mercy has limits." Zix looked around his bridge. His officers were terrified. They had never faced an enemy like this. The hegemony had conquered through superior technology and overwhelming force, but the humans had made technology irrelevant through sheer innovation. They had turned warfare into something unrecognizable. "If we surrender," Zix asked, his voice hollow, "you leave. You tell the galaxy that Earth is under the protection of the Terran Federation." "Yes, Federation. We have allies, Commander. Species you've never met because they learned to hide from you the same way we did. The age of the hegemony is over. The galaxy now belongs to those who choose freedom." Zix had no choice. He transmitted the surrender codes. Around him, hegemony ships powered down their weapons. They had been defeated not through strength but through imagination. Humanity had won by being unpredictable, by developing sciences the hegemony didn't know existed, by turning deception into an art form. As the hegemony fleet was escorted out of the solar system, now able to jump away under human supervision, Zix asked one final question. "How long have you been planning this?" Chen answered him. "Since the day we detected the first alien signal 123 years ago. We knew this day would come. We knew someone would try to conquer us, so we prepared. We studied, we learned, and we made sure that when the test came, we would not just pass it, we would transform it." The hegemony fleet jumped away, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. Earth was not a primitive world to be conquered. It was the home of the most dangerous species in known space, not because of their weapons or their ships, but because of their minds. Humanity had looked at the impossible and decided to make it possible. Within days, the story spread across the galaxy. Hidden colonies revealed themselves. Oppressed species rose up. The hegemony's 400-system empire began to crumble. And at the center of it all was Earth, no longer hiding, no longer pretending to be weak. The humans had a saying, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." The galaxy had learned that humanity's stick was not made of wood or metal. It was made of innovation, determination, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the new age began. The age where humanity took its place not as conquerors but as protectors of freedom. They had been tested, they had been threatened, and they had responded in the most human way possible. They had won through creativity, courage, and the kind of controlled chaos that only humanity could master. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the void, other aggressive species heard the story and decided that maybe, just maybe, they should leave Earth alone. Because if there was one thing the hegemony's defeat had taught them, it was this: never underestimate the humans. They might look harmless, but they had turned harmlessness into the ultimate weapon.